Welcome back for another video. Today we're going to look at a few articles that I've been reading and an article about um, some projects that really need to make some changes in 2019 and really show what they're made of. As usual, everything I've talked about is my opinion. It's not financial advice. Please do your own research. Um, But if you have any questions, please comment, like, and subscribe. Okay, let's get on with this. So, market's slightly down today. As usual, I've always got it in pounds. Let's switch it to dollars. So, Bitcoin sitting at 3,800. It seems to be fairly stable with a market cap of 130 billion. So, I think it lost about $3 billion from yesterday's market cap, and Bitcoin dominance is at 51.5%. So what's kind of leading this downward trend? So the market's slightly taking a bit of a dip and then a bit of a climb, tiny bit, and it may be down to my first article, which is going to look at rocked by China. Apple shares plunged to 18 to low mark in 18 months. So I think this is just going to talk about the fact that Apple's stock plunged to its lowest point since July 2017 on January the 2nd, fueled by an alarming drop in iPhone and iPad demand from China. So Apple came out and said their profit earnings for Q4 2018 was lower than expected. I think it was roughly around 5 or 6 billion from what they were predicting early in the year, and they're blaming this on downturn in China, which obviously means a reduction in sales. So this caused a 300-point drop in the Dow Jones. Why am I saying Dow Jones? In the Dow futures, as part of writing. Apple was trading at $144, a share down 8.7% from yesterday's closing price of 157. So, quite a substantial drop. Trading volume was heavy, suggesting a mass sell-off. Yes, so not looking good for the markets in tech stock. I mean, notably Apple. Now, whether this is going to have an impact on the crypto market, I guess we'll see in the next few days, because obviously there's been other articles about further losses in the Dow and the FTSE and the New York Stock Exchange. So obviously it's not really rocked the crypto market much, to be honest, which is very positive to see. It's only, as you can see, percentage drop for the big ones. Obviously EOS has dropped 6%, but the big losses are again ones that, apart from EOS and Zcash, that we don't really talk about on this channel. So obviously that isn't looking great for the traditional markets, and obviously we're hoping that, again, like I mentioned about detaching ourselves from this, and the next article will probably go on to talk about that. So, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today. Is get rid of this message. Apologies. So this is 6 projects that had damn well better delivered 2019. So I'll link this in the description below. I'm not going to run over every single project, but obviously the main ones I will talk about, and one which you may not be familiar with. So Ethereum, of course. It's do or die for Ethereum in 2019, with all eyes on scalability of the network. The Ethereum community is cautiously optimistic about Constantinople, the upcoming hard fork, which is mired in uncertainty for much of last year. It's also one that will hopefully begin the transition from proof of work to proof of stake consensus. The potential integration of Zcash's ZK Snarks would be the icing on the cake, bolstering the network to 500 transactions per second without the need for plasma. So obviously all of 2018 there's been a pushback for Constantinople over the year, and I believe Vitalik Buterin has mentioned it's going to be the first quarter of 2019. So obviously, if that goes well, massive plus for Ethereum. It goes on to say, meanwhile, competitors such as Tron and EOS are capitalizing on the uncertainty that has plagued the Ethereum network, bringing Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin to defend the development team's roadmap. His reputation in the Ethereum community is also at stake in 2019, after previously declaring that the project could survive without him. I mean, he's going to stick around. I think he needs to make sure things like Constantinople and Casper and possibly Plasma need to be implemented before he decides to depart from the project and start something new. There's not much room for error now that the Jan 16th date for Constantinople is out there. This hard fork could be the catalyst for lifting ETH's price out of the trenches and retaking number 2. Well, time of writing, Ethereum's already got number 2. Whether that's because of the obviously news coming up with Constantinople, or the fact that XRP has dropped. So yeah, definitely a very, very, very big year. And obviously this will spill into 2020 if Ethereum's price does continue to rise. A comment was made on a previous video about XRP taking number 1, and the comment was about whether Ethereum can take the number 1 spot. With these sort of massive developments happening this year, then obviously Ethereum is definitely a possibility. There was a term from last year called flippening, when people expected Ethereum to take number 1 from Bitcoin. It obviously never happened. I think Ethereum hit like $1,400 last year, and I believe it's about $120 or $115 at the moment. So really about a tenth of its price from last year. So yeah, interesting, very interesting to see how that works out. I'll possibly make a separate video on Ethereum, possibly taking number 1 spot and an Ethereum price prediction, so look out for that video. I'm not going to go on about DFINITY. I'm not too sure about that project, so I don't want to give any opinions. Polymath I do. So Polymath is basically, I'll read the article and talk about it. The Polymath team must be licking their lips with the prospects for 2019 after raising $59 million on the back of a lightly unusual promise at the time to focus on KYC, AML, and securities compliance. Polymath has watched from the sidelines as the SEC has knocked its primary competitor out of the game completely, which is the ICO model may return in some refined form, but for 2019, the attention of the crypto industry is firmly on security token offering. So the idea is the SEC and a lot of governments aren't favourable on ICOs. I think a lot of countries have banned ICOs on the basis that a lot of them, I think there was a percentage, or there was an article, maybe 80 or 90% of the ICOs were scams. And governments don't want people to lose money. Not to other people, maybe to them, not to other people. So STO is the offering. So if you go to the Polymath website, they talk about their token offering and what it does, and it has a whole process for KYC and AML built in. So you kind of use their token to go through this sort of process where you upload photographic evidence of who you are, and if they just start defining these sort of companies as securities, then they need to follow the security protocol. And this could be a massive year for Polymath. I think they believe they're in the top 100. They might be around 80 or 90th place. I think they're trading at maybe 15 or 16 cents. They did actually reach around I think $1.50 earlier last year, and certainly a big year for them. So they kind of want to create their own sort of standardization. So it goes on to say, so if Polymath and its ST20, so it's kind of the similar to the ERC20 token, and basically the idea is you would then build projects on the ST token platform. I'll link this description of polymath, and it's a very interesting concept. Side note: I'm not obviously affiliated anyway to polymath. I do hold polymath, but I'm not being paid by polymath or anybody in that project. I'm not familiar with. So this is just my opinion. But again, we're working on speculation that that people want to take on their product, and there are other ST tokens out there, and I'm sure there'll be more coming up. So definitely a good project to look at. So yeah, they want to kind of rival the Ethereum ERC20 token, and the money that Ethereum brought in. Polymath believes there are trillions of dollars in the market they address: real estate, art, liquidity via security. So they really want to focus on the big players in the market. So securities and obviously real estate, and use them to tokenize everything around them. So we'll see what happens with Polymath. I mean, it seems like a good buy at a price of 10 to 15 cents. I'll hold some. I've not purchased anything since they did a free airdrop, to be honest. But something I've held on to because I expect and I believe there's a good need for the project. And really, 2019 is all about scalability and usability. And we saw some of that stuff in 2018 with EOS and Ethereum and XRP. But this is the real big year to see who's going to make it and who's not. And I'm hoping, mainly for many reasons, that we get a lot of projects which just close up shop, which are there just to make numbers, and we don't want that. There's 2,000 plus cryptocurrencies in the market at the moment. 2,000 on coin market cap. We don't actually know how many more there might be which are not on there, but we need to shrink this size down. And 2019 is all about usability and getting your product out there and it to be used in real world situations, and that's what's really going to keep the correct tokens alive and get rid of the junk tokens, as you call it. EOS, yeah, and obviously I've spoken quite highly about EOS. It's in my top 3 buys for 2019. So the EOS community has had many reasons to lose faith in the project, despite a blockbuster $4 billion ICO, which incidentally may have placed a regulatory bull eye on the back of the project. The community became disenchanted for a couple of reasons. First, EOS block producers cast a shadow on the project when they began scooping up RAM and selling it for profit. Second, Dan Larimer, the CTO of EOS, signaled that he was starting to become restless again after a botched rollout of the mainnet. This was not what the EOS community wanted to hear. Larimer hinted at creating another cryptocurrency soon after the launch of EOS mainnet, which rattled investors in the project and took to a toll on the EOS price. So I think the EOS price reached around $22, $21, and it's currently around $2.50 or $2.30. Larimer is needed to help remove the stigma that is attached to the EOS blockchain surrounding suspicion of centralization tied to the project delegated proof of stake system. Smaller competitors, including IOST, have begun taking shots at the DPoS mechanism, pointing to the weakness in a limited supernodes model that could potentially lead to an attack, which is the last thing decentralized app developers want to hear. So I think that this article is not really talking about the too much of the good stuff. I think the positive stuff is the dApps, and again, it goes on to talk about the fairness, obviously, of Tron and Ethereum dApps, but EOS is massive. Like I said, they've not given around $1 billion just towards working on the project and working on projects or providing cash flow for projects on EOS blockchain. So one thing they do have is way faster transaction speeds in Ethereum. May not be Tron. Tron have claimed 500,000 to 1 million transactions per second. Obviously, we need kind of more consistent transactions to see if this is correct and whether it holds up for Tron. But EOS is definitely up there. So yeah, definitely a massive year for EOS, and I guess we'll see how that's going to pan out. So I mean, the other two I didn't really want to talk about too much because I'm not familiar with their projects. So obviously, definitely generally just a big year, not just for these, but obviously XRP is going to be on that list. Stellar is going to be on that list as well. IOTA is going to be on that list. You know, we've got a lot of projects that really need to deliver in 2019. And like I said, if they don't, then you know, expect their market share to drop, expect their price to drop, and then eventually it's going to slowly go down the pecking order of the cryptocurrency standings. And obviously, we want to get rid of the rubbish coins and keep the good quality coins out there so we can get more investment on the quality coins to ultimately knock up the price. And that's what, you know, a lot of us are here for. So, you know, instead of a 29 cents XRP, we want a $10 XRP or a $15 or $20, and we don't want a $3,800 Bitcoin. We want a, you know, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 Bitcoin. So definitely a big year for a lot of projects. But I'll end the news on a very interesting newspaper clipping I saw, and it's from the Times. So Bitcoin turns 10 today. So I believe today was the first day of the mined block or mined coin. So the marking of the 10th anniversary of Bitcoin, block 0. So obviously the white paper was announced last year, but the block was actually mined today. And of all newspapers, the Times, which is seen as quite a right-wing paper in the UK. I mean, it's owned by Rupert Murdoch, so you make a bit of what you want. But at the bottom of it, obviously doom and gloom for Apple. But there you go. BitMEX. Thank you, Satoshi. We owe you one. Happy 10th birthday, Bitcoin. Probably the first address. But oh yeah, so BitMEX purchase of Aspace in Times is not random, as on the day that the Genesis block was mined, Bitcoin's creator Satoshi Nakamoto embedded a headline that had graced the paper on the reading, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." So yeah, talking about the 2008 crisis around that time. So yeah, very happy birthday, Bitcoin. We hope you have many, many more years around and possibly in the #1 position or definitely in the top 5. And hopefully make a lot of us who own Bitcoin a good return. So happy birthday, Bitcoin. And I'll leave it as that. Thank you very much, guys, for listening, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.